Today, we are talking about a soldier whose real-life story is so completely over the top, it honestly sounds like it was written for an action movie. This is the wild tale of Canadian Sergeant Léo Major, a man they called the One-Eyed Ghost.
All right, let's just jump right in. This is him, Léo Major, back in 1944. This guy became an absolute legend, a guy who was known for pulling off things that just, well, they defy belief. You see that caption, one-man army. By the end of this, you might think that's putting it mildly.
And that really brings us to the biggest question, the one that defines his whole story. It's a thing he's most famous for, but it just sounds impossible, right? Could a single soldier, all by himself, actually free an entire city from an occupying army? We're going to dig into the facts, the legends, and the very blurry line where those two meet.
So, to really get the legend, you have to get the man first. And Léo Major's story was forged in the fire of World War II, where, let me tell you, he wasted absolutely no time proving he was not like any other soldier.
Okay, get this, it's D-Day, probably the most chaotic and brutal day of the entire war. While everyone is fighting for their lives on the beaches, what does Private Major do? He just wanders off on his own and single-handedly captures a German command vehicle. And this thing wasn't empty. It was packed with vital communication gear and secret codes. It was a massive intelligence win for the Allies. And this was literally his first day on the job.
And this moment tells you everything you need to know about his personality. A few days later, a phosphorus grenade goes off in his face and he loses his left eye. Now, for any normal person, that is a one-way ticket home. But not Léo Major. He flat out refused to be sent back. His reasoning? He only needed one eye to aim his rifle. He even joked about it, saying, "I look like a pirate." That incredible defiance just became his thing.
So, with his reputation already growing, we move on to the Battle of the Scheldt. And it's here, in the mud and blood of the Netherlands, that another absolutely unbelievable story about him pops up. This is also where things start to get a little bit fuzzy.
93. Just look at that number. That is how many German soldiers Léo Major supposedly captured. Not with a team, not with a platoon, all by himself. The legend says he stumbled upon a German garrison that wanted to surrender, and then marched all 93 of them back to Allied lines as their lone escort.
But here's the catch. For a story that amazing, there's a really weird problem. There is zero official record of it. Nothing. Historians who've studied Mayo, like Dirk Stott, point out that the army wrote everything down. As he says, if you were 10 minutes late for roll call, it went in report. So for an event this monumental to just not exist on paper, that's a huge red flag.
But that disputed story, whether it's true or not, leads us straight to his most famous, most celebrated, and, yeah, also his most debated moment, the liberation of the Dutch city of Zwolle. Now, before we even tell the story, just look at this. They named a street after him in Zwolle, the Léo Majorlaan. The sign literally calls him the Canadian First Liberator of Zwolle. So no matter what really happened that night, it's pretty clear the city believes he's their hero, and they've been honoring him for it ever since. So here's the setup. The Allies are about to level the city with artillery to get the Germans out, which would kill tons of civilians. Major and his best friend Wilfred Arsenault volunteer to sneak in and see what the German strength is. But early on, Arsenault is shot and killed. Major, absolutely consumed by grief and rage, decides he's going to finish the mission himself. And this is where we get two totally different versions of the same night. The legend, the story everyone loves to tell, is that Major went on a full-on Rambo rampage, firing his machine gun, throwing grenades, making a massive racket to trick the German garrison into thinking a huge army was attacking, causing them to flee in terror. But the historical analysis tells a different story. Police reports from that night show things were quiet. It seems the Germans were already in the middle of a planned retreat, and Major probably moved through mostly empty streets.
And this quote from his friends, I think it really nails it. The truth is likely somewhere in between. He was, without a doubt, incredibly brave to go in there alone. But over the years, the story just grew and grew, until it became this epic tale that, in the end, even Léo Major himself started to believe.
But look, if any of this makes you doubt Major's unbelievable courage, let's fast forward a few years to the Korean War. Because what he did there is 100% documented, totally verified, and it will erase any shred of doubt you might have about this man being a hero.
So it's 1951, and Major is back in action, this time leading a small platoon of elite scouts and snipers. They get an assignment that sounds like a suicide mission. Take back a vital piece of high ground, Hill 227, from an enormous, well-defended Chinese force.
Just look at these numbers. It's insane. You've got Major and his 18 guys on one side, and on the other, elements of 2 entire Chinese divisions, somewhere around 14,000 soldiers. They were outnumbered almost 740 to 1. The odds weren't just bad, they were basically zero.
What happened next is just pure, documented heroism. In the dead of night, he and his men actually retook the hill. The Chinese, obviously, launched a massive counterattack, and Major's commanders ordered him to retreat. He refused the order. For 3 straight days, his tiny force held that hill against wave after wave of attacks. At one point, he was calling in artillery strikes so close to his own position that he could hear the bombs exploding over the radio as he was giving the coordinates. It's just unbelievable stuff.
For that action, he was awarded his 2nd Distinguished Conduct Medal, or DCM. And we need to be clear, this isn't just some medal. It's the 2nd highest award for bravery given in the entire British Commonwealth, just under the Victoria Cross. Léo Major is the one and only Canadian in history to receive the DCM in 2 separate wars. That is a fact, undisputed, and absolutely heroic.
So, what do we do with a figure like Léo Major? A soldier whose verified actions are already legendary, but whose legends have also become part of his history. You know, how do we square the man with the myth?
I think these 2 images say it all, really. On one side, you have the grand, public monument. It celebrates the legend, the hero, the liberator. And on the other, you have the simple, humble headstone for Sergeant Léo Major, the man. It's the huge public story right next to the quiet, private truth.
In the end, maybe that's the real lesson here. The man, Léo Major, was an undeniable hero. His documented courage proves that. But the legend? That's something else. It reminds us that sometimes we need stories that are bigger than life, not because they're better than the facts, but because they inspire us. And maybe what's most powerful isn't choosing between the man and the myth, but realizing we kind of need both.